Welcome, everyone, and welcome back to Cabbage Critiques with our eighth, who cares? Our seventh episode in the series so far, where we're going to take a look at Marvel's X-Men from 2000, 2000, I believe?
Yep, 2000. Sure. It was July 14th, 2000.
I'm sure everyone had a great summer that year.
No, not us. We weren't born yet.
What are you talking about? But yes, today we're looking at the first X-Men movie, and by design, the beginning of the X-Men franchise as we see it today.
Yeah, dead.
Acquired by Disney, gone, vamoosed.
No more.
It was a franchise of highs and lows.
But was this one a high? We'll get to that. But Karl, our facts guy, it's good to see you again. Mind filling us in on this movie?
This movie was directed by David Singer, written by David Yair, story by Tom DeCento and Bryan Singer, the director. It got a 82 by critics on Rotten Tomatoes and got an 83 by audiences.
So, generally favorable.
We had big names in this movie, like, let me see, where was it? We had big names like, we had Hugh Jackman, we had Patrick Stewart, we have Ian McGregor, not Ian McGregor, I'm so sorry, wrong guy. He was not in this movie. Ian McKellen, James Marsden as Scott Summers, Halle Berry as Storm.
Oh no. Halle Berry in a superhero movie? Oh no.
Tyler Mane as Sabretooth.
Well, quite the cast we got going on here. Of course, Hugh Jackman would famously go on to play Wolverine for years after this and has basically become the face of the character.
He's played it for 17 years.
That's a long time to be playing a character, especially in a live-action setting. Same could also be relatively said for Patrick Stewart, who's been playing Professor X for also quite a long time. We don't usually talk about the casting choices that much in a movie, but I feel like it should be brought up that, this was in the star department, a very big budgeted movie. Like, what do you think about the cast, Jacob?
I thought that they're very good. They were very good. I think that Storm and Professor X and obviously Hugh Jackman is pretty accurate. As not maybe not height wise, but pretty accurate face wise and everything else to play Wolverine.
Yeah, and overall they did it pretty well. I think. Also, before we move on up, do we remember who played Mystique?
That was Jennifer Lawrence.
Yes, thank you.
Wait,
that was also
it. Played him in this one. I don't know if she's.
I know she played Mystique, and was it Days of Future Past?
Yep, and I believe she's in X2.
Yeah, I know she played her at least twice. Karl, do you remember who played Mystique in this movie? Was it Jennifer Lawrence?
Let me see.
I don't think she was in it.
We have a Rebecca Romano as Mystique.
It wasn't Jennifer Lawrence. Thank you.
No. She played Mystique in X-Men 1, X2, and X-Men United. Oh, and according to this, even in X-Men First Class.
Very interesting. What did you think about the cast, Carl, for this movie in particular?
You got some iconic names like Patrick Stewart, who was from what was the name of that stupid sci-fi show?
Star Trek?
Star Trek. Thank you. I don't remember that.
Don't talk bad about John Picard. Look, I
I
may
wasn't
not be a
talking.
huge fan, but he was the best character in that series.
Well, forgive me. I don't remember the name of the character. The name of the guy was.
Captain Picard is a civilized man.
We got Hugh Jackman, who got to play in big roles.
You guys don't know Star Trek.
I don't. But I didn't grow up with it, so.
That's at least two of us.
You don't like it? Don't care.
I don't hate it. I just don't have a huge affinity for it.
I mean, people's opinion of me not liking it, Jacob,
Hey.
or knowing it.
But before we get delving into the cast too much, I do want to make a quick note. For people who may be familiar with just Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, you got to realize that Hugh Jackman is about, 6'2"? Like, he's a tall guy. But in the comic base, in the source material, Wolverine is only 5'3", meaning we're all taller than Wolverine is supposed to be. Yet I believe Hugh Jackman dwarfs all of us.
I'm pretty close to his height. I'm 6 foot.
How tall are you, Karl? Like what? Close to 6 foot?
6 foot.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like 5'9".
I'm about 5'8", around that. Before we get delving into it,
taller than Wolverine, though.
Hey, I feel like it's about time we get into the movie, shall we?
Yep.
Alrighty. So, as per every 1 in 3 superhero movies, we start off with a flashback. But this one is pretty intense, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, we're set up in Poland in 1944 during the World War II with Nazi soldiers taking away
This whole section
the little
is
kid.
This whole section is to set up the main villain, Magneto.
Yes, and to be fair, I will give this movie credit that they handled at least this part of Magneto's origin very well.
Yeah.
Because this is not pound for pound, but this is basically what happens to Magneto in, the source material, the comics.
Yeah.
He's a kid.
Now, as far as comic accuracy goes, I don't think it's super important.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you keep the spirit of the character, then it's fine.
This movie has it where it counts.
Yeah,
is the best way I can put it.
They're not wearing 90s Jim Lee costumes.
We venture forth to the present day after seeing, like I said, this intense flashback in Nazi Germany with a little boy named Eric, who eventually becomes Magneto, who has magnetic powers. And we get this whole explanation by Patrick Stewart, Professor X, on the origin of mutants, how they're the next step in human evolution. And we cut once again to, I believe this is a conference in New York, something like that.
I think we're actually in the capital. I think we're in Washington, in a special secret council.
U.S. Senator Robert Kelly, which you might remember that name if you watched Days of Future Past,
or 50% of X-Men media. He's basically become the J. Jonah Jameson of the X-Men.
He wants to pass the Mutant Registration Act. He wants them to reveal their identities and abilities.
And also at this conference is Jean Grey. Hi, good to see you. And she's arguing that whenever mutants have outright brought themselves out as mutants, they're usually met with violence and retaliation. So there's a bit of a conflict going on here. There's Jean Grey, who's standing up for the rights of mutants, while we have Kelly here bringing up the point that these mutants could potentially be very dangerous, and that
it sort of reminds, I don't know if you guys will say, but it sort of reminds me of the Superhero Registration Act
in Civil War. Exactly.
Yeah, and if you go back to the original comic, After Spider-Man revealed his identity, his aunt was shot.
Yeah, his life took a very dark turn after he revealed his identity.
Wait a minute, she wasn't shot. Her house was firebombed.
Okay, small, but she was badly injured,
True.
and she was going to die. But we're not going to talk about that storyline after. But the thing is, this sort of reminds me of that.
Yeah, it's a very big moral dilemma where while it's obvious to the audience that yes, there's a right answer here being rights for mutants, but we see Patrick Stewart, Professor X, in the audience, and he talks to Eric, who he isn't quite
His name is Lensher.
Eric
But he's now
Lyncher.
going by his name Magneto.
Is he quite Magneto by this point?
I'd say yes, since he
Yes,
he-
after what he did in the past. Well, like what he did to those people at the camp.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'd say
this
one.
might be comics only.
I'd say one thing I did like about how they shot this was you didn't know it was Eric. You didn't even know
Yeah.
who the actor playing him was until he turned around. You just saw a dark
Exactly.
figure.
It's just Professor X and this figure talking, and they have some sort of familiarity. Excuse me. But so yeah, we have this opening bit, basically laying the groundwork for the conflict of the movie. But then we jump forward. Well, we don't jump forward. We jump to, meanwhile, thousands of miles away.
In Alberta, Canada.
Who
And
cares
who's the
about
Canadian
Canada?
superhero?
Where we meet.
I wonder who.
Oh, we're gonna find Ryan Reynolds here. He's my favorite Canadian.
Oh wait, I just remembered we did jump. We
with
did jump over.
regenerative superpowers.
We did jump over one point. We jumped from Magneto in the camp to him in the conference. We forgot
Well,
about the.
I was getting to that. I was getting to that because here in Canada, we get introduced to this girl who calls herself Rogue.
One of my favorite X-Men.
Yeah, she's great. She's great. Who we see just a couple minutes before being one of the few who's basically accessed a mutant gene. But hers is she has the ability to absorb energy from other beings. But at the same time, it has the negative effect of draining that energy from them. After she ends up kissing a boy all 80s rom-com style.
And then he goes into a coma.
Yeah, he nearly dies. So yeah, this girl's she's pretty freaked out, all things considered. So she's up in Canada, just being a nomad, getting around. And she gets dropped off by this truck driver at this small town in Canada.
Alberta, Canada, to be exact.
Yeah, lovely. Never been, but sounds lovely. And she finds herself in a fight club. Number one rule is don't talk about Fight Club.
I'd say more. It's more of a bar with a club in it.
Okay.
It's kind of. I don't know how to explain it.
Meals and entertainment.
Yeah,
I guess so.
Where we meet this guy. We meet Hugh Jackman.
Logan.
Where he's taking on all comers, just kicking their butts in the octagon.
Unfortunately, he can't kill anybody in this movie. Or
No.
They can't show it. But there's a movie for that.
I do remember the one scene that's funny is this. One of the guys challenges him. He comes into the ring. The referee's like, "Don't punch him in the balls." Why? Because you might regret it later.
And honestly, if anyone knows what Wolverine is like, Why would you? Even if it was if it was a real life Wolverine, I still wouldn't punch it in the balls. Do you know how nasty those things get?
Oh, do I?
Yeah,
Never met a Wolverine.
you don't need to. They're bigger badgers.
No.
Yeah, Wolverine's taking on all comers. They even call him the Wolverine. That's his stage name, as he's taking on all comers. And after the
I'm
fight,
mad
the guy.
that I have to look up the Wolverine animal in order to find an actual picture of a Wolverine. Because if I look up Wolverine, it just get the character from the comics.
That's awesome. Yeah, after this fight, Wolverine is going over and getting a drink at the bar, and the guy who got laid out by him comes up to him and says something along the lines of, "I know you're one of them," and he's calling Wolverine out for being a mutant. And so he's stirring up trouble, and eventually Wolverine, the ticking time bomb he is, throws the guy against the wall, and we get the first scene of him extending his claws, which honestly doesn't look too bad, in my opinion. For 2000 CGI,
It's a tiny bit outdated, but
it's outdated, but at the time, I'm sure it was spectacular.
It's definitely better than X-Men Origins Wolverine's claw openings.
Yeah, this movie is 20 years old almost.
Well, yeah, it's almost 21 years old.
Oh, 21?
Well, it was made in 2000.
Oh,
this is
jeez, the time has gone by so fast. I'm gonna be old.
You are old.
The hands of time have claimed my soul. But yeah, it doesn't look too bad. But Wolverine extracts his claws and threatens the guy, and a bartender comes in because people are afraid of mutants.
And pulls out a shotgun.
Yeah, Wolverine isn't having that, so he slices the shotgun in half.
And during this entire sequence, Rogue is just sitting there at the bar, drinking her water.
Yeah, her water, because I'm pretty sure she's not old enough to drink.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Yeah, Wolverine's, he makes a big scene at the bar, and so he hightails out of there in his big old truck.
That's just more of a motorhome than a truck.
Oh, yeah, I guess you're right. Later on, Wolverine's driving in the Canadian wilderness when he realizes that Rogue has hitched a ride.
Well, we find out somebody hitched a ride because he keeps hearing movement.
Yeah, and it's revealed to be this girl, Rogue. And Wolverine's like, get out, go find yourself someplace, I don't care. Because he's Wolverine.
You don't give two craps about anything.
But he grows a bit of a heart. His heart grew 3 sizes that day.
And then shrank.
Yeah, his heart healed back to normal size. But he allows Rogue to come with him on his little romps throughout the Canadian wilderness.
Because that's what real men do, apparently.
Yes.
They go to the Canadian wilderness.
They just stay there in their motorhomes.
Yeah, they do. They don't even go anywhere else. They just stay in the wilderness.
Yeah, and they start talking because after an interaction or two, Wolverine actually figures out that Rogue herself also has mutant powers. So, they get to talking, but eventually, how do I explain this?
Logan wasn't paying attention to the road and he ran into a tree.
That's what you get for not wearing your seatbelt, Logan.
Oh yeah, and then he gets thrown out the window.
He gets shot out the window and gets thrown like 30 feet.
It's a bit like, oh God, he's dead. Not knowing he has a mutant ability,
but he eventually stands back up, and we actually see his skin healing, which also doesn't look horrible for the time. But from now, the CGI gets worse. I'm sorry. From now on, it gets worse.
Yeah, CGI was a big thing, and it wasn't even that good.
No,
They just used it,
because they could. They thought it was cool. It was the cool thing to do.
but spoiler alert, it's not very good looking. Meanwhile,
Yeah.
a movie like Ghost Rider actually is decent CGI, you know.
Debatable.
But that transformation scene is sick.
It is,
Good.
isn't it?
I think in order to appreciate that masterpiece of a movie, you have to be a really big fan of rock music.
You mean that
Yes.
crappily put together movie? With the,
I love how
That's
for the past
debatable.
5 reviews we've snuck in some kind of Ghost Rider reference.
You know,
yes,
it's gonna
yes,
happen
we have.
someday. We're gonna be reviewing someday.
It has to happen.
If it doesn't, then
We riot.
then we failed.
Yes.
We have failed this city.
Oi, we're talking about Marvel here. That's like sacrilege. Oh yeah,
So
we
you're
were
saying
talking
I
about a
can't start
movie.
a conversation about
True.
about Batman while we're talking about X-Men.
Yeah. I forgot we're reviewing X-Men here. Yeah. Turns out that they crash and Rogue's seat has begun to catch fire. But before Logan could go over there and save her, enter Sabretooth, who comes and clocks Logan because should I go into the history between Sabretooth and Logan, or would we
No,
be
it's
here for like the
too-
next 40 minutes?
It's too complicated.
They hate each other. That's just it.
They're like cats and dogs. That's the enemies.
Yeah, pretty much. But also enter Cyclops and Storm. Jacob,
What? No, I didn't think back.
I know you hate him.
I do because of the Dark Phoenix saga,
Bleh.
but I also don't. I mean, I don't hate the character anymore. If that's just the character himself, and that makes him interesting. But I still don't like.
I mean, he's
what
not
he
bad in
did.
this movie.
I didn't like what he did to Jean.
Jacob, be nice to the X-Men. They might come blast you.
What? Cyclops is blind without his glasses. What's he gonna do?
He might laser beam you.
You got to realize how many blind people there are in the Marvel universe who could kick your butt.
See, we
there's
got-
a lot.
You can say we got Daredevil,
Stick,
Yeah.
who's the guy who trained him.
Stick, yeah.
And by a bunch, I mean 2.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna take on Matt Murdock. I'm just blind.
But on the topic of 2, like I just said, Storm and Cyclops come in, and they bail both Logan and Rogue out of the situation by fighting off Sabretooth. And so they take back Rogue and Logan to, I believe it's Harlem, New York, Manhattan. Where is it?
Hmm.
Where is the X Mansion?
X-Mansion. Man.
Well, while they do that, Sabretooth regroups with Magneto and explains to him that they got away. And Magneto respectfully throws him in a jail because he's mad. And if you're Magneto, you can do that. And I think that's pretty cool.
Would you like to throw people in jail?
When did I say that? I just said I like magnetic powers.
Oh.
I don't know what you were thinking. Rogue and Logan are taken back to the X Mansion, which is in New York. We'll just say that. It's in New York. Logan wakes up in intensive care and is woken up by guess who?
Cyclops.
No, you didn't watch the movie.
I did. I'm being funny. It was Jean Grey.
Yeah, she put some sedatives in him and he didn't like that. So
She got one needle in, and he like jumped up and nearly snapped her neck off.
well, that's what happens when you're Wolverine and you are what, 300 years old, something like that. You're pretty old.
He's pretty old.
They even allude to that later on in the movie, where he said Wolverine could possibly be older than Professor X himself.
And Professor X is old.
He has another name, James Howlett. But
yes, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's the name.
That's later in the series.
That's not the name a lot of people call him by. It's just always been Logan or Wolverine.
James Howlett's been around since the Civil War. But
yeah, that's a long time to be around.
Just imagine how lonely that existence must have been.
Well, that's the thing. Like Wolverine, up until recently, but at least theoretically, is functionally immortal. Because any kind of virus or anything in him that would normally make him sick doesn't. Because that's how his healing factor works.
I think the only thing that could kill him was the adamantium in his skeleton.
Which was slowly poisoning him.
Poisoning him.
But without it, he could virtually live forever.
Yeah.
But we're getting off topic. Wolverine wakes up in the X Mansion, kind of runs around a bit, is not hearing the normal voices he hears in his head. Professor X, psychically, would that be the correct term? Psychically?
Yep.
Yeah, he was telepathic connections.
Telepath, thank you. Telepathically speaking to him.
For me.
Yeah. And kind of leads him over to meet the rest of the crew. He officially introduces him to Cyclops and Storm, which Wolverine accurately calls those names stupid.
He's not wrong.
I mean, imagine being named Cyclops.
Imagine being named Jacob.
Wow.
Then again, imagine being named Wolverine. Means you're short and angry.
His name is Logan, though.
Who calls him Logan?
They don't call him Logan, but that's his name.
Good Lord. Yeah, we get introduced to the other the Charles Xavier School of Gifted Youngsters, which is totally what I'm going to name my school. So I sound old.
You are old.
You can for youngsters.
And we find Rogue is actually transitioning pretty well into this safer life for her, because this is where kids who have been abandoned and run away stay, because they're not afraid of each other.
Yeah, because they're all mutants.
Exactly. In fact, we actually get the first look at
Iceman.
Bobby Drake. I believe that's his last name.
Yep, Bobby Drake.
Which, side note, is there anybody in the world whose favorite X-Men is Iceman?
I
don't think so.
I don't think that person exists.
I've always been more of a Gambit fan anyways.
Gambit's awesome. Also really like Nightcrawler.
He did. Iceman was able to survive a full-on nuclear detonation in Washington, though.
I mean, yeah, that's cool, but...
Oh, very funny.
I love how half of this review has just been us trashing certain members of the X-Men. It was first Cyclops, and now it's Iceman.
Well, I actually complimented him, saying he was able to survive.
I called him cool.
And I call.
Cool,
Good Lord, this is going to be a long review, guys. We're not even halfway through the movie.
No, we're not.
But we'll also get introduced to not only the mutants in Charles Xavier's school, but we get introduced to the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, which is Magneto's squad.
It's Magneto's evil X-Men.
Yeah. Which include Sabretooth, Mystique, and Toad. Also, this makes me wonder, the villains are completely outnumbered here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the Brotherhood of Mutants is not that powerful. Well, they don't have many.
Especially because Sabretooth got bodied by Storm.
Well, he got winded by her.
Okay.
You could
don't
say
need
you could say he got blown away.
But not only that, we get introduced to the beginning steps of their evil plan. What could this be? Watch the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
And for people who came here looking to actually know our thoughts about the movie, watch it yourself because the movie is old.
Yeah.
Like, if you came for our Back to the Future review last week expecting a full plot synopsis of Back to the Future and not just a couple guys joking around about a movie, you're in the wrong place because Back to the Future 2 is like, how many years old by now?
Well, let's see. It was made
Came
in
out in 1987?
1988
Oh, 8.
minus 2021. That movie was made 23 years ago.
Oh, yeah. Long time ago.
We would be able to drink. Once this movie was made and we were born, we would be able to drink now.
Yeah. But back on topic. Charles informs Logan about Magneto and his plans, not to take over the world, but basically to end humanity because he doesn't like humanity for what they've done to his people. Which on one hand is sort of righteous, but at the same time, it's still evil. You know? And that not just this movie, but X-Men as a whole has really dealt with that balance, you know. Because on surface level, Magneto's motives are pretty pure. It's just his ways of going about them aren't exactly as pure.
No.
Without their fair share of bloodshed.
He wants to end the entire human race so the mutant race can survive.
He wants to save his people by eradicating another.
That classic an eye for an eye.
Yeah.
I think he and Thanos get along very well.
Not for another 10 years? How long until the X-Men are allowed to appear in the MCU?
Kevin Feige hasn't even announced it yet.
Yeah, no, not even close yet.
No,
But
coming in this phase.
that good old Senator Kelly ends up actually getting abducted by Magneto's Brotherhood of Evil Mutants as they bring him back to their lair on the secret island
Of Genosha.
Sadly, it's not the Juggernaut.
No. We're not getting the Juggernaut yet.
We'll get it later.
I fret the day. But Magneto and Magneto and friends used Senator Kelly as a test subject in what they hope will be the solution to their problem. They virtually use Magneto's power to turn Senator Kelly into a mutant. Which we'll see how that goes along. He may or may not have slipped through the cracks, if you will. What's the best way to go about this? He turns into goo?
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's Goop from Ben 10. He's Goop.
he's the blob that ate everything. Actually, no, that's the wrong X-Men villain. My bad.
So again, Goop. Goop works.
Yeah. Yeah, the side effects of the machine.
The blob that ate everything. That's different. That was Goosebumps.
I love Goosebumps. What are you talking about?
That was Goosebumps. You were talking about the wrong series.
Was I? Well, I said he's like the blob that ate everything, but I had mentioned the blob who's in. You know what? Screw you. I'm cutting this out.
What? I'm serious.
Oh, it's gonna be a field day for me. Good lord, this has gone off the rails, man.
You see,
Why'd we have to do X-Men?
this show is always unscripted. It will never.
True.
Without a script.
Without a script, what are we? We're nothing.
The only one who ever has a script is DJ.
Yeah, for 3 lines.
Still a script.
Calm, cool, collected.
Scripted.
Mute machine. Big side effects on Senator Kelly. Didn't exactly work how Magneto planned. However, he knows that it worked, and that's all he needed to know. So we cut back to the X Mansion where Wolverine is sleeping soundly. Nothing to fret here. But we start getting one of many Weapon X flashbacks throughout the series.
Yes.
And Logan is having nightmares about it. So when Rogue tries to, wake him up and comfort him,
He tried stabbing her.
he accidentally stabs her, which is
Not good. Bad Logan. Bad Logan. You don't stab people.
It is not.
yeah.
Wolverine.
It's like the old rule: don't wake a sleepwalking person. Logan wakes up, accidentally stabs Rogue. However, she takes off. I know. She takes off her gloves and grabs onto Wolverine, and she absorbs his healing factor.
Yep. And he steals her powers. Which actually harkens back. Well, that's her powers. She did that to Captain Marvel in the comics.
Yes, and I believe she did it for so long that she actually gained her powers, like, more permanently. Yeah.
Not permanent, but like she can take people
on a more consistent basis.
Yeah.
But so she uses Wolverine's powers to heal herself, but in the process nearly kills Logan, because that's how powerful she's become at this point. And it creates a big stir with the other kids, and it's a very, very big mess. And even her fellow mutants are starting to become afraid of her. So this creates a little bit of tension. And speaking of tension, I went this long without talking about the love triangle that is Jean, Logan, and Scott.
I don't know. I read a comic today where Logan went up and Jean Grey kissed Logan, and then Cyclops just watched. So I think they got something going on.
Tale as old as time. Oh boy, that's another. That's one thing about this movie. Every little bit has so much history behind it. We couldn't cover it all here. It really is like that, because the X-Men have one of the most complicated histories of any team you've ever seen.
It's like watching a soap opera.
Yeah, it's like seeing it all unfold right before your very eyes.
I think part of it is because we're bringing the comic knowledge into the movies, where this is the first movie they've been established.
Yeah. And as per usual, we make this seem much more complicated than it actually is. But you know what? We're along for the ride. I'll also cut this part out too. Any parts of silence, I got this. I'm just looking at my notes right here, so
I'm just not going to talk though.
that's awesome.
Just kidding. Well,
So it turns out that Rogue has a little bit of a crushy crush on Bobby Drake. And
AKA Iceman.
when Bobby, quote unquote, Bobby comes in and consoles her next day, he says that Professor X is very mad at her for what happened yesterday, and that she should just leave before Merle, who's scared and frightened, she leaves. But it turns
she's
out
17 in
that
this movie. She's not a little girl.
okay, relatively, she is a. You know what?
Young woman.
She's a young, mature woman,
Yeah.
not a little girl, DJ. Don't be ageless.
Okay, man.
Ageist.
Ageist, thank you.
By the way, this stuff is staying in.
She's
right?
the one billing up on a 300-year-old man.
You do have a point.
I'm cutting this part out too. That's like the third time you guys have made me say that tonight.
Okay, no, we need to do an extra blooper.
X-Men, the extra bloopers,
The extras.
The X-Men, the extended cut.
the extended cut. Oh no!
Just put out all the bloopers we're doing here.
Keep everything in, even the curse word.
Yeah. And does anyone else want to curse before we go on?
No, I don't do that. So. I know. Karl has a 3-letter word he really loves.
Nice try, Jacob. That ain't gonna work. And I know what you're talking about.
So
Fuck.
He brought over his
Yeah.
comic.
We'll go on this tangent later.
And-
We'll Jacob,
yes,
different
later,
tangent,
later.
different tangent, different time.
But the 3-letter word, it was just very funny.
I hate and love you guys right now. I hope you know that.
Unscriptedness. The unscripted.
I both hate and love you guys right now.
Yeah.
I'm having the time of my life, but I'm not going to be having my time of life like 30 minutes from now.
Yeah, editing this entire
You're
podcast.
unscripted, but it's not good unscripted.
Oh boy.
Okay, well, what's the next point we have to talk about?
But it turns out that Bobby isn't Bobby. It's actually Mystique, who, as per earlier, reveals that she has the power to shapeshift. That's her thing. So she impersonates Bobby in order to get Rogue to leave the school, because it turns out Rogue is the one that Magneto wants to power his machine. So the adults, yes, the adults are very upset by this, and Wolverine steals Cyclops' bike.
Which is
So he can-
it's a running joke in the majority of these movies. So Wolverine will steal something from Cyclops in every movie.
Because at this point, the two can't stand each other.
Whether it be his girl,
Whether it be his girl, his bike,
or his car. He stole his car in the second one.
Oh, now that I'm keeping in. To go catch Rogue at the train station. Yeah, it is a train station. But another big ruckus breaks out as Magneto catches them while they're on the train. And since Wolverine's skeleton is made of metal. That's adamantium.
Fatal Attractions reference right there. Sorry.
He tosses around Wolverine like he's Emperor Palpatine.
Which, by the way, that would not be a good matchup for him. He would just lose.
Oh no.
In fact, something bad did happen.
Yeah, and they kidnap Rogue. The X-Men show up. The Brotherhood of Evil Mutants show up. This is like the third time we've seen Toad in the movie, and he's done literally nothing.
Yeah.
Toad
was never that interesting in the first place.
I always wanted to like him, but I never could.
You know what he reminds me of?
Reptile from Mortal Kombat?
No, it reminds me of Bullfrog, how useless he was.
Bruh, frogs are useless. Who needs them?
No frogs are needed.
Rivet. Rivet.
This is gonna be hell for editing. How many minutes do you think you have of footage that
actual content is probably over an hour by now.
that you could put in a blooper?
Oh Lord. Oh, this is gonna be fun.
This is gonna be the only episode we need bloopers for.
Yeah. Karl, are you crying?
No. Just supporting my head.
We've laughed much more than we need to.
Let's actually get on topic now.
Yes.
Sorry, this movie is
big
as seriously as others.
Come on, guys. Get it together.
Okay, don't stop.
A big fight breaks out at the train station, which ends up with Magneto and friends.
With one of the most iconic scenes in every movie and is portrayed, even in Supergirl on the CW, where he takes all of the cops' guns and points them at them and says, "Homo sapiens in your guns," and threatens to shoot them at him.
And he threatens to shoot all these guns at the officers who surround him. And he brings one dude forward, and Charles Xavier, who's sitting in a car nearby, takes over Sabretooth's mind. Well, kind of. Yeah, that's exactly what happens. And he speaks to Magneto through Sabretooth. And it basically turns into a game of chicken with guns, is basically the best way I can describe it. Magneto is threatening to shoot all these officers, saying, I don't know if you can stop them all, Charles.
He's like, "Hey, watch me."
So eventually Xavier's the one who backs down and has to let Magneto escape. Lose the battle to fight another day.
Lose the battle, win the war.
Exactly. So Magneto has Rogue. This is Darkest Timeline. That's 2 episodes in a row where I've said Darkest Timeline.
We gotta review Community. We got to talk about Community at some point.
But as they're officially formed, the X-Men will never give up. And so they find they using some baseless assumptions, mind you. Well, no. Hold up. Cutting this out too, because I had a brain fart. But Senator Kelly washes up on a beach and goes to find Jean Grey, because he feels like he's the only one. Well, no, that she's the only one that can help him. So he arrives at the X Mansion and basically explains what Magneto has done to him, and
tells him the plan.
Yeah, he kind of discombobulates.
Discombobulate.
Discombobulate.
drinking like this orange goo.
Yeah, it's pretty weird. It's pretty weird. Yeah, he basically dies in hospital, and the X-Men find out what Magneto's plan is. He wants to turn everyone in Manhattan into a mutant. But what Magneto doesn't know is that this gene will eventually kill them, like it killed Senator Kelly. So Storm, Cyclops, Jean Grey, Wolverine all have to go into the Statue of Liberty, which is where Magneto's held up now, in order to save Rogue. Because even Magneto points it out that using this much power will kill Rogue. So this is a big, high stakes here. High stakes are going on. And we actually transition into one of my favorite scenes in the movie. It's where where everyone's scaling the not Eiffel Tower, Jesus, the Statue of Liberty.
Don't you know your statues, DJ?
I know my The Eiffel Tower is not a statue. You're not gonna get me with that. But
Wait,
my favorite
the Eiffel
scene.
Tower is a statue. You idiot.
No, it's not. It's a tower.
Yeah, it's a statue.
It's a tower.
It's a statue.
You guys are just stirring stuff up so we could put more stuff in this gosh dang blooper.
That's actually not
The
my.
Eiffel Tower is a tower, not a statue. Okay?
Okay, let's get moving.
You guys made me rage so much I got a vein going on my forehead.
It's better have a pop a vein than pop a sand, right?
But actually, it's one of my favorite little parts in this movie is they just get through the entrance of the Statue of Liberty, and Wolverine walks through the metal detector, and it goes off. He slices the metal detector, and Cyclops just has this smug look on his face. Which my question is, why didn't it go off for Cyclops's visor?
Maybe it's not made out of metal. Maybe it's made out of some sort of non-metal.
Plastic. But Wolverine just sticks out one claw, like he's giving him the finger. But yeah, that part will never cease to crack me up. But while they're scaling the not tower, while they're scaling the Statue of Liberty, we get our final confrontation between. I don't know. I will just never cease to crack up at that moment. But here we go, as the X-Men are scaling up the Statue of Liberty, and
Not the Eiffel Tower. Not.
Like an actor, isn't it?
Ladies and gentlemen, I think our host has left the meeting.
Our host has left the building.
Wait, he's not here. Wait. I was gonna say he's not here. We can do what we want. Okay.
Let's do X-Men, he said. It'll be fun, he said.
We're keeping this in the video. We're keeping all this in the video.
No, let's go.
No, we're not.
We're keeping this in the bloopers. We'll make it a blooper.
This is what it's like trying to be an actor, isn't it?
Not the Eiffel Tower.
Honestly, I was about to say something, but I know I'd regret it, so I'm not gonna say it.
Yeah, well, we could always cut it out.
Oh wait, we're still recording?
Yeah.
Yes, this is all bloopers crap we're at, and now.
Okay, well, I think we can finish something quickly.
Yeah. Okay.
Hello, Blue. We are.
On three.
Unless
Also,
someone
Eli.
says something and tries to ruin the series.
I'll introduce you when I introduce
just mute
you.
Eli.
I can mute
Just
myself.
mute Eli.
Sorry,
until we're
but
ready.
that's the way
I
it's
can
gotta
mute
be.
myself. I have a hands for a reason.
You're a strong, independent man.
Eli,
I get it.
just stay muted. Okay. Until we're ready.
Okay. On three. I'm
Okay,
doing
this
this.
time we're
1,
doing it.
2.
This time.
But yeah, that part will never cease to crack me up. So we get our final confrontation between the X-Men and the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants as they scale up the Statue of Liberty. This includes Mystique playing a Freaky Friday and turning into Wolverine.
So we have a Wolverine versus fake Wolverine fight.
I hope Hugh Jackman got paid more for that. I really do. Let's see what else. Storm turned Toad into a lightning conductor.
Oh, we finally found a use for toads.
Somehow we actually found one. You ever wonder what happens to a toad when it's struck by lightning?
It explodes.
The same thing that happens to everything else. Halle Berry's words, not mine.
So they explode.
And of course, yeah, pretty much.
Hope she didn't get any goo on her face though. That'd be really
Yeah,
weird.
that would be
Nah,
pretty good.
he's probably fine. He'll be in the next movie or whatever. And of course, this is another point where I want to say the CG got worse. The fight scene between Sabretooth and Wolverine. It had really cool parts, but it also had some really dumb parts as well. While they fight on the crown of the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah.
But you know what? It was the early 2000s. Matrix was a thing at that time,
Matrix
so you
was
know
weird.
that's what people
Wait,
wanted
it came
in their
out before
movie.
the Matrix.
No,
It came out before the Matrix.
when did Matrix come out? I thought they came out in 1999.
I will
Oh
Google
yeah, it
it.
was 1999. Never mind. I'm gonna go back to what you're saying.
Everyone loved the Matrix.
Okay, get that smirk off your face. I can see it on the camera.
Just because I knew when the Matrix come out doesn't make me better than you. I understand. But that happens. Wolverine straight up kills Sabretooth, or is he dead? Who knows? They'll fight forever.
I don't think Sabretooth is even he's not as strong as Wolverine.
Plot
No.
twist. Sabretooth is actually just a fever dream from Wolverine. Come on, we gotta all know this. How does he look perfectly like Wolverine? How does he look exactly like him?
He's Diego from Ice Age.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say Diego from Dora the Explorer. The best show on earth.
Hola, soy Dora. You get muted.
That's a deep cut. Diego.
More I have to edit into this glorious blooper video.
You're welcome.
So he
Stop.
can't
Okay,
turn on
Karl,
his
can you
mic.
mute him? Can you mute him? He can't
Eli,
unmute
this comes
himself.
from a place of love. Shut up. And we come down. What are you laughing at?
I don't think you should have asked.
Anything else you want to add, Jacob?
No, sorry. Just laughing at this. You go. You're fine though.
And here we are at the climax of the movie. Magneto's on top of the Statue of Liberty, absorbing Rogue's powers so he could power his machine. the Storm, Jean Grey, and Cyclops are, I believe they're inside the Statue of Liberty at this point, but they got like a view of the top, somewhere around there. And
Yeah,
while Wolverine's
they got locked. They got locked in there. They got locked inside.
Yeah, they got locked in there, and Cyclops blew a perfectly timed hole.
Well, because Magneto stole his glasses.
Yeah.
So he's keeping his eyes shut not to hurt his
Velma,
his
my
left.
glasses. Scooby, I can't see him. And Wolverine's attempting to stop Magneto, but he's also being held back by the magnetic force. So it's very, very, very close. But Cyclops eventually times a perfectly well hit I-beam that knocks Magneto over and lets Wolverine disable the machine. And so with that, the X-Men apprehend Magneto. Everyone is saved from what they assume to be a fireworks show.
Yeah.
But sadly, it appears Rogue has died in the process. Or did she? Because the power of Wolverine's healing factor swoops in once again, and he saves her, while nearly sacrificing himself in the process. We're all heroes in the end.
She does get that iconic white streak in her hair like she does in the comics.
That is true. That is true. Which I think that was a nice little cheeky way they brought it in. But yeah, speaking of ends, the movie wraps up with Wolverine saying he's gonna go find himself, which is slang for going back into the Canadian wilderness. Cyclops, Jean, and Storm are still teaching at the school. Everything's back to normal. Magneto's apprehended. Everything's great. Except one little hiccup. They're all watching video footage of what appears to be Senator Kelly alive and well. But it turns out it's Mystique, who somehow survived getting stabbed by Wolverine and is now impersonating Senator Kelly in order to further Magneto's cause. So the fight is not over yet, folks. But as for now, that concludes us on X-Men 1. So, gentlemen, Karl, Jacob, Eli, and myself. You can unmute him now.
He has the Bible unmuted himself.
What did you guys think of X-Men?
I think it's good. It's just that it's a little dated.
Yeah.
I think that the plot itself is good and how it represents the characters is good.
Do you mind giving us a letter grade?
A.
A?
Maybe
A solid A?
A or B plus.
A or B plus. Okay. Karl, thoughts on X-Men?
It's a good superhero movie for a movie at its time. Like we said, it's from the 2000s. So this is back when studios like Fox and Sony movies only last 3 movies even then, and they didn't even want to make a trilogy or didn't even want to make anything. So I think it's a pretty good movie. We don't have stuff like the MCU now.
Yeah. This is before cinematic universes were really popular.
Or even really a thing.
Yeah. Like, the only one I can possibly believe predates this are, like, kaiju movies. But they're very weakly linked together.
And I was also to say they're also Japanese movies, which American audiences back then don't even watch, I don't think.
They don't count them.
No.
Eli, thoughts on X-Men? Anything you'd like to add?
Honestly, I haven't seen the movie for such a long time, but the way I remember it, I would give it a T for terrific. That's the way,
awesome.
because the way I remember it, it was such a good movie.
Oh wait, I forgot to give my rating. My rating would
Oh,
be
yeah.
it would be I'd give it an X for X-Men.
X for X, gonna give it to you.
You could have said X for excellent.
Ah,
No.
good one.
Excellent.
X for extremely good.
Okay, there you go.
Oh boy. So X-Men.
I'd say that I'd give it I'd say the movie's pretty uncanny. There's not much like it.
I say it's a
Wow.
pretty. I'd even say it's a pretty astonishing movie.
I'm about to go up and walk out again. Thank you.
And why is that?
Anyway, my thoughts on this movie. Legitimately, I really like this movie. I think it's really enjoyable as someone who really loves the X-Men, despite their complicated history. This movie tackles it pretty well. Hugh Jackman as Wolverine is legendary. Like I said, the main problem is it's very dated. Like I said, the CGI in the movie gets worse progressively as it moves on. Especially that one part where Wolverine slides around the crown on the Statue of Liberty. I don't know how that works, but okay.
It's pause.
Yeah, but that's not how physics work.
Have you ever wondered how a cat climbs a tree? They use their claws.
Spin like a top.
I'm gonna say yeah. Cats don't spin.
They can if they really tried hard enough.
I don't know. It's a little wonky.
Some momentum.
It's quite uncanny. There, I said it.
Join the dark side with the X-Men reference.
But overall, I give this movie an A-.
Join the dark side. We have cookies.
If this movie had the special effects that today's movies had, I'd probably give it like a solid A. But due to those slight points, I give it an A-. When you take it for what it is at the time, I think it's a really, really solid movie. Any more thoughts before we want to wrap this up?
Well, I do want to say one thing.
Okay. Shoot.
Life is an illusion. Your face is an illusion. The game is an illusion. And life. Say it with me now, DJ.
No,
Do it.
I'm not doing it.
Do it.
I'm not doing it.
Life is
That's my final answer.
Okay, fine. I'll say it. DJ is gay.
No, I am Patrick.
No, you're DJ.
Does anyone else want to put their thoughts on this movie?
I have
Eli,
one.
Put your hand down.
I'll say one last thing about this movie. I would say this movie was a giant size success.
Oh, that's a deep. Oh, okay. I got to give credit for that. That's a deep cut joke. Well done.
Not as good as this joke that I'm about to make.
Jacob, anything you want to add? Because I feel like we all need to end this now before it gets even longer.
I think they took a gambit making this movie.
Okay.
In the end,
Stay cultured. We'll see you guys next week.
Ugly.
Next week we're reviewing our first comic from Marvel Comics. We're reviewing Kraven's Last Hunt, and goodbye.
Life is an illusion.
Reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Buy.
Bye, guys.
Cut.
Peace, y'all.
End it already.